been waiting to do that for a while. It's been a while. That's good. Matthew, everyday audiophile, writer, reviewer, audio enthusiast is probably what I should just go with from now on. It's been a while. I don't know if you've noticed that. I'd put out 5 or 6 videos. I actually had recorded for another 5 or 6 videos, but I just never got around to putting it out. Maybe I will. It'll be weird looking back at my viewpoints on things back in the day. Back in the day being, a year and a half ago? But things happen, right? Have kids. Economy kind of went to shit there, somewhere in the middle. And I ran into this issue. This is what I want the subject of today's video to be about. I ran into an issue where for the last 14 years, so about since 2010, maybe into early 2011 is when I first got into audio. I've been doing it mostly solo since then. There's been patches where I had a friend that I lived close to that we could go to the audio store, go over to each other's houses and listen to music. But by and large, for the last 14 years, I've been running solo. And it takes a lot to stay interested in a single field, whether it's engineering or software development or fashion design, whatever it is. Living off of your own criticism and your own wishes and your own enjoyment of what you're doing. Because it's entirely possible for audio to be a one-man show, Let's take my family, for example. My wife just wants something that works and plays music. Love her, but that's what's most important. My kids are too young to truly get that. It's not that they don't enjoy music. My son is starting to come in and have his own tastes. Just 2 weeks ago, he asked me why I listen to music that he doesn't like. Didn't really have an answer for that one. But it's tough. And so I was starting this gradual decline of things that I was willing to invest time in for music because I either thought that it wasn't worth it or the return on investment was too low. And one of those was vinyl. And by the way, this is, let's see if it focuses, Lone Pint Yellow Rose. Smash IPA. Love it. It's like my go-to if I can find it. Sometimes they'll be on manager special and we can pick up a 6-pack for half off. So we'll buy everything that they have there. So flying solo, having a hard time. The one thing that was keeping me interested was audio shows. And I didn't really have the opportunity to go all the big ones, with having young kids and all. So the main one that I went to here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex was Lone Star Audio Fest. And I probably went from 2014, 15, 16. I might have missed 18, but I went to 2019. And then after that, 2021 and 22 was canceled, right? We had COVID. They couldn't find a suitable hotel because the old hotel had just kind of not kept up. And so in 2023 was the first year of the show again after 3 years on hiatus. And I went, and it was just everything that I needed from the past 3 years that I was missing. I loved it so much that I decided to show in 2024. And so I did. I told my wife that's what I wanted to do. I was starting to she accepted it, reluctantly accepted it, tolerated it, maybe is the best answer. And so I gathered the speakers that I wanted. I gathered the amps that I wanted. I made sure that all of my cables were in good order. I'm so sorry if you heard that barking. We're watching my parents' dog. She used to not bark, but she's a 15-year-old yellow lab. And she's too lazy to do anything else, so she just barks. um, so I showed this year in 2024, and I had a great time. I met a ton of people. And among the people that I met was... I am so sorry for that barking if you can hear it. Among the people that I met were some people in a hi-fi group. So they use WhatsApp. And I'm sure there's a couple of them around the Metroplex, but the one that I was introduced to, they use WhatsApp, and there's about 30 of them in this group. And every month or so, they go over to other people's houses and just listen to music, provide feedback, listen to something new that's come out. I got to do that for the very first time right after the July 4th weekend. Yeah, or maybe right before the July 4th weekend, the weekend before. And it was game changing for me, right? I've been going 14 years without any feedback, without anyone to kind of bounce ideas off of, to see what other people were interested to, because I'd gone down all of those avenues. I'd done full range speakers, single driver, full range. I've done small bookshelves with subwoofers. I went down solid state. Still going down tube amps. I mean, I have my EL84. They're behind the camera. They're not here right now. They're actually hooked up right now. And so being able to talk to people was kind of, it flipped that switch for me back to like, all right, this is something I really want to be into. And again, last night, I guess it would be. Yeah, it was last night. I had people over at my house. 2 people. It was a pretty small get-together by get-together standards, but I was really testing the water to see if it was something that I wanted to do. And I had 2 systems to show. So in my living room downstairs, I have... If I can make an image magically appear here, I will. My editing skills are not good. Downstairs, I had a Riga RS10, driven by audio gear. So an Audiophile S5 and an Audiophile A20. It wasn't my first choice. I've been having issues with my Osiris, but the distributor is going to help make things right. So no issues there, but it was being driven by a 20 watt amp that has no business driving that speaker, and still it did pretty good. The speaker could have used more power, but it did pretty good. Upstairs, I had coherent GR10s. Those are driven by those Triode Lab EL84 monoblocks, but on the preamp, instead of that guy that you can't really see, the Triode Lab Alpre that uses the 12AU7s. I was using my Riga Elicit Mark III. So this isn't the Mark V that we have now or the Elicit R. The Mark III is the one that came before that. It's personally my favorite of how they all looked. I know that's a little bit old school by, today's technology as far as amplifier design and whatnot, but just I love the aesthetics of it. All of the amps, the Mira 3, the Brio 3, there was a Radio 3 and Apollo 3. There's a lot of 3s for that generation. Mark 3, right? So that's acting as my preamp, driving the tube amps going to the coherence. Well, at some point into the night, we took out the coherence and we hooked up my Concept 500s. And it was a pretty good pairing. As you would expect, these EL84s have no issues driving the coherence, which are still pretty efficient by big tower standards, to good listening levels. I mean, this is a well-treated room. It's not a very big room, so you don't need a lot of power to really just energize the room. It's so good. It's so good. But about an hour into listening, One of the guys leans over and he says, "Have you ever tried biamping those speakers?" And look, I know that passive biamping has its own issues. You are technically supposed to level match both amps, so like a passive attenuator between the loudest ones, so that the same input from RCA equates to the same voltage coming out of the binding posts. We didn't do that. Look, we've been having drinks. I've been having some beer. Some of the guys been having some whiskey, but 10 minutes later and a refill, we got them all hooked up and we turned it on and listened to the same tracks. And I'll be honest, it sounded pretty well balanced. I think there is a slight accentuation in the bass where there had not been before with a single amp, and I think that's just due to that attenuation issue that I just talked about. But that aside, these speakers, the Concept 500s, transformed. They went from a speaker that was a well-rounder to something that easily competed with something 5 to 6 times its cost. Hands down. And I would have never thought of doing that myself. And the fact that it happened on the very first night that people were here kind of solidified that, okay, this is something that I've been missing out on for the last 14 years. It's something that I should have known existed. I just never tried to reach my hand out and join those groups. So it wasn't until I put myself out there, Lone Star Audio Fest, that this actually happened. Excuse me. And I mean, it was a good night. Besides that, overall, there were a lot of great feedback. I opened up let's see if it'll catch it on here. Bourbon Barrel Temptress from 2019. So I age all of my beers 5 years if I can help it. Not an IPA like this, but for stouts 5 years. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So I guess the moral of this now 12-minute video, hopefully it'll be done soon. The moral is being in groups for audio, talking to other people is where the magic is. There is a lot that you can do by yourself. And I did it for 14 years. But I feel like the amount of experience and I don't want to call friendship, but the amount of ideas that I've had and the amount of excitement that I have for the audio enjoyment in general, right? Turntables, new albums that I've never heard before. I experienced more in the last 2 weeks than I had in the last 5 years. So, multiply that over the course of an entire year. It's going to be a good year. Probably a lot of alcohol to be consumed, but that's just the way it is. All right. I'm going to leave us on one last note. I am going to try and get more videos out. I haven't yet decided what my cadence is going to be compared to before. So I'm going to try for one video every 2 to 3 weeks and still writing stuff on the website. Additionally, since there are other people that have systems around here, why not bring my camera? Why not bring the microphone? 2 microphones, actually, with the ghetto thing that I have right here to record, and interview the owner of the system, ask them how they got into audio, show the system a little bit, see if I can't record it with the other mic that's better than this one, and see where that takes us. But in the meantime, cheers, fellas. I'll talk to you later. It's so good.